Hello my friends, Paul here at the RoJoBe Music Workshop, and welcome to part 7 of the commissioned Canjo build project. Okay, so I've just started to file the frets on this small Canjo neck that I'm doing. Let's see if I can get you in a bit better than that. Okay. So I nipped off the ends of the frets with my cutters. Can't find them right now. Just nipped off the ends of the cutters because the frets, because some of them were very long, and I've just started to file the frets. Now there's 3 different files that I use for this job. So there's this one, which is basically just a standard metal file mounted on a block of wood. So the idea of this is obviously it's very flat. So I use this one to go over the top of the frets to make sure they're all level and mostly level with each other, so that they're all on exactly the same level across the board. So I go across the top of the frets with this one. Now this one is a block of wood with a file mounted in it at 45 degrees. So with this one, I put that on the top, and let's put it that way around, and the file itself hangs over the edge at 45 degrees. So when you run along the top like that, it files the corners of the frets off at 45 degrees. So that's those 2, and so when you finish doing that job, you've obviously got very rough edges. Now this tool is a fret crowning file, so you'll see there's a groove in there. There's actually 3. There's 1, 2, 3 around this, and they're different sizes. That's usually the middle size that I use for these standard frets. Sometimes I'll actually use the small size. Now what you do with these is you go over the top of the frets this way, because once you've filed the top, you've obviously got a flat top to the fret, and they need to be curved. So this tool, you can't really see it, but these grooves are that shape, and they've got the file inside there. So they take the flat top of the file and they round it over. Okay, and so you go over the top of the frets with this to recrown them, to give them that curve at the top again. And you also lift up and go over the end of the fret and side to side, so that you file off the edges so that they're nice and smooth. So I'm going to start. I have already taken off a little bit off the edge just to make it a bit easier. But generally I will start with the fret leveling file. So, and after you've done these a few times, you kind of get a feeling when you run this file lightly over the top of the frets, you can feel any high spots. So I'm quite used to that now. So I'll just gently go over the top. Actually, they feel pretty good. So actually, before I start that, I'm going to get a Sharpie and just draw a Sharpie line over the top of all the frets, and that way I can see if there are any higher than any others. So just put a mark straight across the top of all the frets. There's only 8 of them, so it doesn't take long. Okay, so now I'm just going to lightly run the file over the top. How are we doing for time? Oh, what am I talking about? This is a new video. So just going to lightly run the file over the top of these frets, just a few times, just to see if I get any high and or low spots. Okay, well, looking at that, they look almost perfect. So I'm not really going to take anything off them. I'm just going to go over again one more time, just a few times over, just to make sure they're level, and that'll be it for that job. That's quite surprising. I thought I'd have to be doing a bit more to that to get those level. Let me just eye it down the frets. Yeah, it does look pretty good. Well, that's good. Okay, well I'm not going to take any more off the top of those, there's no point. They seem to be pretty level. So we'll just put that back in there. Actually I want to lift it up a bit. Okay. Yes. These workbenches are good, but not quite so good for holding smaller pieces of wood like this. So I'll turn these blocks sideways to hold it a bit better. Just make sure that's secure. Okay, so that's the leveling file finished with. Now the 45-degree angle file to go over the edges, just to take off those sharp edges off the side. Okay, just go around this way. So again, I'd already started to do this just to make it a little bit easier. So there's not much to take off. Yeah, still a bit this end. Okay, both sides. This because these frets are, it's a diatonic fretboard, so we've got bigger spaces between them. This is a little bit short for this job, really. So I've got to be careful that I keep it even. It's a bit awkward when you don't have a full fretboard, as it were. It's not too bad. Okay, that's pretty good. Yeah, it's probably better I do it that way, just in short bursts. That's better. Yeah, let's get in there. It's not bad. Well, that's much easier doing it in those little short bursts like that. Because when you're doing the levelling across the top, you have to make sure you go over across the top of all of them. This doesn't matter because it's just taking the sharp edges off the sides. Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, not too bad. Quite liking that. Ooh. Didn't feel nice. Okay, that's good enough. So now to the fret crowning file. So I'm just going to start with the medium one, as it were, which is that one. And actually crown the frets first, so you can hear it cutting, especially when I go over the ends there. It's not too bad. It's nice actually. It's actually quite difficult doing these really small frets. Not much surface to work with. Let's get in there. Okay, so I'm going to continue that off camera. Don't really need to film the rest of that. You can see what I'm doing. It probably take me 10 or 15 minutes, I should think, and I'll bring you back when I finish and show you the next stage. Okay, so kind of finished the fret job there. Got all the edges filed down now. I ended up using the first grade in this file, the smallest one, which did a better job, and I think it's because the frets are so short, or narrow if you prefer. You just need a little bit extra as far as, you know, filing the edges down. So now that I've used the file and got most of it done to that level, I'm going to use a little bit of a 600 grit paper, sandpaper, just to just take the rest of the slight tiny little bit sharpness off the edges first of all. So you just kind of go, you can't really see what I'm doing there, so just over the edges of the fret, so it goes over the side of the fretboard, just up and down with some 600 grit, and kind of finalises taking off the sharpness. Yeah, that's good. And the other side. Yeah, it's feeling quite good now. And also over the top of the frets as well. So doing this, it kind of polishes up the frets a little bit, cleans them up, and then I'll go over again with some, where is it? I had some 2000 here just now. Yep, there it is, 2000, and do exactly the same thing again. And over the top of the frets. Yeah, it's getting really nice and smooth and shiny now. And just because I've got some handy, I'll finish off with 2,500. Which really literally is just polishing at this stage now. Looking good. Yeah, that's nice now. No sharp edges. There's a little bit, one or two places, but I can go over it again, it's not a problem. Okay, so just give it a final wipe with the cloth. And that is the finished fretboard. You can, I don't know how well you can see, but all the edges are gone off there. And you know, the way to test literally is just to run your fingers up and down and you know, feel for any sharp or rough edges. It's pretty good. So I mean, I said it still needs some sanding, but I'm not obviously going to do that at this stage. It'll be more or less the final job. So I think what I'm going to do now is fit the nut. I do already have the nut kind of made and shaped. So I'm going to fit the nut. I'm also going to put the tuner in, and I'm going to attach a string through this hole. This hole is actually where I'm going to be putting a screw in to attach it to the inside of the tin. But for the purpose of doing the intonation, I don't need to put the whole thing together to do that on this one, because what I can do, as I said, is attach a string there, put the nut in, the tuner on, so obviously, and attach the string this end and to the tuner, and I can make a saddle to go in here, and not fix it. Obviously have it floating, but bring this string up to tension. And once I've done that, I can then adjust the height of the saddle so that I've got the right action of string above the fretboard. And I can also slide the saddle up and down to get the correct intonation. So, how are we doing for time? Okay, so that's what I'm going to do now. So I'm going to pause the video while I put the nut on, because that's going to be a little bit fiddly. I may have to put a very tiny shim in there to bring it up a bit, because I think it might be too low. So once I've got to that stage, I'll bring you back and show you the next stage. Okay, so I've just done a little bit of work off camera. So I've just got a screw in there at the moment and got the string wrapped around it. Tuner in place, got the nut in, which I'd made before, and I've temporarily put a saddle in there for now, in roughly the right area for intonation. So really the next stage is just to take a tuner, tune it up to any pitch really, but this is a B string? Yeah, B string. So I'll probably want to get it up to at least a G, probably an A. I'm not going to go much more than that in case something breaks. So it doesn't really matter what mode I have this in, so I'm going to have it in chromatic and see what the string is at. Okay, it's only in F at the moment, so that's an A sharp, so I might as well go up to the B. Okay, so that's kind of strung up to a B. It's going to stretch out a little bit, so it will drop out. Obviously you can't hear very much, there's nothing to resonate on this string, so I've just taken it slightly above a B, so it's just slightly sharp. And so now I want to check the intonation, i.e. check what it is at the 7th fret. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we should get the same pitch, roughly, but an octave higher. So let me just check that. Okay, so it's going to be a bit awkward to show you how I do this, but so that's a B, and then when I fret here it should be more or less, I've actually got it a bit sharp as you can see, so it should be more or less the same. Okay, that's way sharp, which means, right, so if it's sharp, that means that the string is too short, so I need to lengthen it by pulling this that way a bit. Okay, let's just try that. Let's just bring that down a bit, doesn't need to be that high. Okay, let's try that. It's actually pretty close. Still a little sharp perhaps. More or less a B. Still a bit sharp. That doesn't look far off actually. Let me just tune it up to an actual B. So I ended up that quite way down, but let's just check that. Okay, that's a B. You know what? That is not far off. That looks pretty close to me. So what I need to do is, I mean, that's more or less where the saddle needs to be anyway. So I'll need to just keep checking it. I'll tell you what, that looks pretty close to me. Might be still a tad sharp. So I'm going to continue to do that. I'll just, you know, slide this. It has actually slid forward a bit. So let me just check that again. Right, that's a B. And that's a B. That's pretty close. So I'm going to fine tweak that, make sure that's in exactly the right position, and then when I'm happy with it, I'm just going to drop a little bit of super glue or CA glue down there to hold it in place. And then once I've done that, then I will shape it. You can see it's a bit too long. I'm going to stick it down first so that I know it's in the right position before I shape it. So that's the stage we're at the moment. Okay, so I just want to position and fix the saddle, and then the next stage, more or less, is putting it back together, or putting it together. So I'm going to end this video here, and I'm going to just work on that, just fine-tuning that, and glue that saddle in place, and then shape it. And by the way, it is bone. The nut and the saddle on this are bone. I'm sparing no expense. Just wanted the bone on there because, you know, the nature of these instruments, they don't sound like, you know, amazing, but they do sound quite good. So by giving it a bone nut and saddle, it does improve the sound slightly, probably not so much as you'd notice, but it's certainly better than plastic. Okay, so I'm going to get that sorted, and the next stage, as I said, is pretty much assembling this one. So I'd like to once again thank you all for watching. Really hope you're enjoying watching this series as much as I'm enjoying making it. Once again, as I said, all of this is dedicated to my late father, who passed away just 3 weeks ago. Everything I do is for him, is about him, is dedicated to him, and so that's what this is all about. So once again, thank you for watching. Look forward to seeing you, or you seeing me, in the next video. In the meantime, take care. Peace out.